I think almost everyone understands that like political polarization is happening, and I think almost everyone understands that we're being tracked online by a lot of different entities, but I don't think everyone understands the relationship between those two things. That's what this video is about. For those that are subscribers for video essays, I'm actually working on a video essay about this topic, but I wanted to make a kind of quick primer explainer video. The opening shot for that video is...
Oh my God.
Yes, Screenslaver, an amazing fictional representation of this. So stay subscribed if you're interested in that. There was an article that came out that said that the Pope had actually endorsed Donald Trump against Nancy Pelosi for the impeachment hearings. It was shared a bunch of times. And it kind of blew my mind when I read it for the first time, and I'm going to link it here. Oh, wait, I can't link it here. It's fake. But I make up the example because there was a fake version. I can't hold up the book. It's at my other spot. But this actually happened in 2016, where there was a papal endorsement of Donald Trump that was shared about 900,000 times. It's in a book by O'Connor and Weatherall called Misinformation that I definitely recommend you check out. I'll put a link for it in the description. So now we've got a third thing to focus on, which is we've got online tracking, and we've got political polarization, and we've got misinformation, and this video is about how all three of those things are related, particularly in regard to something called algorithmic radicalization that I've seen talked about in a lot of different places, but most recently in this particular book. Okay, so 6 creepy ways that you're being 6 creepy ways that you're being tracked online. The Pope, Black Mirror, Donald Trump, algorithmic radicalization. It's going to be a heck of a video. Let's go. So I went to a lecture a week and a half ago about advertising technology, and it was put on by a woman who works for Target's ad AI advertisement. I'll find something more descriptive and put it below. But basically, she's in this business, and so she knows what she's talking about. And she talked about a couple of different ways that we're being tracked, and I thought that some of them were creepy, and so I wanted to share them in the service of recognizing how advertising technology and online tracking relate to algorithmic radicalization, relate to political polarization, relate to misinformation. That's a lot of things, but let's just go through it. So the first one is ultrasonic beacons. If you download certain apps on your phone, they actually can be listening in the background. And if you go to physical locations, like in concerts, and I imagine certain stores, those ultrasonic beacons, you cannot hear it with your ears, but there's a physical beacon that's playing a sound that your phone can hear that your ears cannot. So even if your phone's offline, it actually can hear that you were there, and it can make a record of the fact that you were there, even if you didn't necessarily consent to the fact that you wanted to be location tracked. Creepy thing number 1. Creepy thing number 2. Your device has an accelerometer in it. You rotate it, and it can rotate the screen. That particular accelerometer actually has a drift to it. It sort of wiggles. It might wiggle one way or drift another way. And if you combine that drift with the way that you particularly hold your hand, you can be on a website, and that website can track that you are there, even though you never gave it personal information, because it can track the way that your accelerometer moves. Similarly, your gait tracking is one other way that they can do it. Another way that this could happen, way number 3, is with your mouse. Your mouse actually has the way that you move your mouse, the way that you scroll through different web pages actually is unique to you. So if you mouse over particular advertisements, those advertisers can track your mouse print even though you didn't consent for them to track that. So you might think that, like, this is insane. And this, by the way, I actually asked the speaker about this, right? This is not something that can be blocked with a VPN necessarily, because a VPN can bounce your signal off a bunch of different ways. But if you have enough unique identifiers associated with your device, it doesn't matter where the device is bouncing the signal off, it can still track you. you might think, okay, great, if advertisers are the problem, let me install an ad blocker. Somebody else asked a question about this, and I found this amazing. I'll throw a citation from the technology review below. It might feel like a good move to put an ad blocker on, but an ad blocker, actually, a lot of them have access to your internet traffic. And so part of their financial model is they block advertisers, but in return, they sell your data, your browsing data, to other people, particularly advertisers that they are whitelisted that will still be allowed to show you advertisements, even through the ad blocker. So those are 4 sort of regular but freaky online ways that you could be tracked. The 5th is... I could show, maybe I will show clips of both Republicans and Democrats being worried about facial recognition technology. There was a House Oversight Committee hearing a month or so ago, and both Republicans and Democrats agree that this is a bad idea. One way that facial recognition technology could be used in the context of ad tech, it's been used in creepy ways, like face printing all of the people at the Freddie Gray protests, according to the Baltimore Police Department did this so great. But an advertisement-oriented way is that is recognizing that while you're walking around through a store, facial recognition technology could be monitoring your facial expression as you look at different products. So your emotional reaction to products now is data. And if you combine all these things together, that your device is individually fingerprinted, your ultrasonic beacon can tell different people where you are in physical space, even though you didn't have your GPS on or you weren't connected to the internet. They're starting to build this comprehensive image of you that you... I hope I can isolate that fan noise. We'll find out. Okay, they're all starting to build this comprehensive image of you, and the question is why. So we've got this ad tech apparatus that's tracking you, and it's tracking you in order to sell better advertisements to you. The question then is, why is that related to political polarization and algorithmic radicalization? Because we are living in an age. Actually, let me answer that with a quick clip.
So you recently logged your first kill.
Huh?
And how did that feel?
What's going on in this clip? So in this clip, there are, sorry to spoil this one episode, get over it. There's lots of episodes. People have implants in their eyes, and the implants in their eyes actually change what they see about the world. I found this concept really terrifying, and the twist in the episode is that the government actually manipulated their own soldiers into perceiving other people as more monstrous and inhumane than they actually are. So it made killing people easier because they didn't actually see the humanity of the people that they were attacking. What that has to do is because if you have been on the internet, right, the content that you see is a function of the things that advertisers think that you might be looking for. Dr. Noble says this a bunch of different times in her book, that Google is not an information technology. Google is not an information company. It's an advertising company. Google is in the business of showing you the information that will keep you clicking. And this is what connects back to this concept of political polarization that we're starting to see. Why might we be feeling sort of viscerally that the people on the other side are just so radically different from us? Well, in part because we, as we're scrolling through our news feeds, are sort of bifurcating the world into 2 different epistemic bubbles. We're how do I say that? We're being exposed to 2 different sets of information. And the reason that we can be exposed to different sets of information is because we're being tracked with exquisitely, profoundly powerful tracking technology that knows just what to show us so that we keep clicking. And one of those things, related finally to the algorithmic radicalization piece, one of those things that is, that ad tech understands, that Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, part of Google, understands, is what makes us upset, what outrages us. I think the only thing that sells better than sex is pride and perhaps rage, because we are so addicted to thinking that we're better than other people. We scroll through our news feed and go, those morons. Like, that perhaps is the only thing that we're going to click on more readily than like some sexy advertisement. And I think that recognizing that we're being deliberately shown content that keeps us in this feedback loop so that advertisers can be there, sucking up ad revenue as we work through this. Let me just cut to the example. Right, here's the example. It's actually, of course I can't find it. There's a lot of too many stickies. We'll go from memory. So the example is Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof is one of the myriad murderers that have sort of had their moment in the sun by deciding to shoot a bunch of people. Dylan Roof was one of the killers in the church. I'm slipping on details, and I'm embarrassed that I can't remember these things. But the reason, and it's tragic that there are so many mass shooters that we can't even keep them straight anymore, but that's another video. The reason that I'm bringing up Dylan Roof, and the reason Dr. Noble brings up Dylan Roof, is because Dylan Roof fell into the sort of dark side of advertising technology. That if you have a really precise profile of someone psychologically, and if you are willing to sort of bifurcate society for the sake of selling ads, then you can actually accidentally create, or deliberately, who knows, create this sort of these pockets of algorithmic radicalization, where Dylan Roof in his own manifesto wrote that he like Google searched for something and it led him down an internet rabbit hole. Google wasn't interested in showing him the truth. Google was interested in showing him what he wanted to see. That's what I mean, that the only thing that sells better than sex is pride. We want to be shown what we want to see. That confirmation bias is baked into the basic structure of the internet, and we are so willing to buy into it because it makes us feel secure in our red and blue tents, and because, independent of like broken psychology of humans, companies have really well made profiles on us, and they know just what to show us. Informally, talking to someone who was at that, who told me that it was like proprietary, and I wouldn't be able to find a source for it, so that's weak, but whatever. Panera, I think, or Charter. Panera had a 20 or 30 point tracking system for all of its consumers, and Charter had something like a 200 or 300 point tracking system, had 200 data points on every single one of its customers for how to manipulate that customer better. Facebook, I'm sure, has a whole lot more than that. To tie it back to sort of wrap this all together, what's the point of this video? The point of this video is the impeachment hearing is happening right now, and it's like there's two different like stories of the reality. Like you can watch the Trump rally and they're saying lock him up, meaning Joe Biden, and you can watch blue tent protesters chanting lock him up, locking up, and they mean Trump. There's like seemingly two different realities, just like living side by side. Why? Like, part of why is because information like the Pope endorsed Donald Trump can circulate widely on the internet. A company can suck money out of that misinformation circulating around the internet. And then in the process of that false information circulating around, other companies can collect data on the people who absorb and are influenced by that content, creating this sort of vicious cycle where we're shown things that are perhaps true factually, but we're shown things that are true in such a way that we build narratives that just are in conflict with each other. And in the worst case scenario, that can lead to algorithmic radicalization of people like Dylan Roof, who decide that if I click down this dark hole of the internet and I go and I see what I want to see and what I want to see and what I want to see, then people can find their way to really tragic realities. But I think what's more real to most of us is the very real feeling of being unable to have a conversation anymore. And part of that is because we are living in two different worlds. and we're being shown two different worlds. And I would love to tie it back to this Captain America video that I made before, that like the surveillance apparatus that goes up in those ships, that's real. But I think a better approximation of that is not that particular authoritarian way, but instead this more Orwellian reality that's shown in Black Mirror, where literally the world that we see is now being filtered through our devices so much that we've lost our eyes. Our eyes are they might as well be gone. This was a little longer than I wanted it to be. As I explained at the beginning, I hope this is a beginning of a larger essay piece on Incredibles 2 and Screenslaver and villains. So stick around, be subscribed if you're interested in that. I normally make video essays, but I also make sort of chatting at the camera kind of things. Pick up this book, Algorithms of Oppression by Safiya Noble. I'll put a link below. As a sort of housekeeping thing, there's Amazon links. I'm an Amazon affiliate, but I like don't really want to do that anymore. So what I would rather you do is go to the Patreon page, tip me on Patreon, and buy this from a local bookstore instead. I think we all feel it. I think we're all feeling this, and I think as I just got this also by Weatherall, by O'Connor. I think if we understand the mechanisms that are leading to social fragmentation, that might help us solve it. So that's the point of this video. All right, thanks for watching. This is Charlie. That makes sense to me. Hope you learned something or enjoyed. Bye.